So I have this mantra, which is that good work has to drive a trifecta.
How would you describe the rigor, first of all, of the judging process for someone who doesn't know it?
It needs to drive consumer impact, business metrics, and win some fame and awards. And I think Effies is all about that. Effectiveness is very important.
Yes. On The Lead Creative, we often ask what makes marketing truly effective, not just provocative, but commercially and culturally meaningful. In this series, we speak to Effie Awards South Africa jurors, marketers, and agency leads to explore what drives real impact. The Effies celebrate ideas that grow brands, shift perception, and build relevance. We unpack what makes winning work, how top brands think about effectiveness, and the role of brave, bold ideas in marketing today. Because the Effies, in our view, aren't just about what you made or created, but what it truly achieved. Share your thoughts on some of the most impactful marketing work you've seen recently. And please share this conversation and subscribe to The Lead Creative. Arpan, thanks so much for making time between the networking and the talking and everything else that you've been up to.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Arpan, there's something I saw recently in a conversation that you were having, and I think I want to delve a little bit into that as we talk. But it was something about the importance or significance of heritage for a brand and some of the brands that you work with at Mondelez. I mean, one of them is Chappies. All of us, most of us in South Africa grew up on Chappies. In fact, whenever you were buying chewing gum, we used to call it Chappies. We didn't call it any other brand. So what I've noticed is that there's this drive towards sort of being part of South African heritage. What is it about brands and heritage that really matters so much?
So firstly, I've been blessed. I work for Mondelez. And we have great people, but great brands, which have a legacy. Before getting into Chappies, I think we have brands like Cadbury. And Cadbury's a 200-year young brand. The beauty about Cadbury's is I have worked across in India, Malaysia, South Africa. Every market feels that Cadbury's is from that country.
Yeah, that country, yes.
Right, so there's something about connecting with consumers and being part of the culture in the lives of the consumers. And Chappies is one such brand. It's again one of those brands which is 60, 70 years old, but you talk to consumers, they feel that they have grown up with Chappies. The Did You Knows are the oldest Googles of the world. Better versions of Google, I think, where you could learn things without being addicted to the phone. And it's like they say marketing is about following culture. I think marketing is about leading culture. If you can connect to your consumers and become part of their lives, you create magic and some sale happens, but you drive consumer impact.
So you are loosely fresh from the Effie Awards judging process. You saw a lot of the work that made it into the awards that won tonight, of course. How would you describe the rigor, first of all, of the judging process for someone who doesn't know it? And what are you taking away from that process to implement with your own team over the next year?
Firstly, I've been involved in a few of the the contests and the award ceremonies that are happening in South Africa and broadly in SSA and including the Middle East. I first feel Effies is one of the most stringent ones. In many other awards, we probably reward work that trends. But in Effies, we don't just reward work that trends, but work which actually drive real consumption, volume, and drive business impact. So I have this mantra, which is that good work has to drive a trifecta.
Right.
It needs to drive consumer impact, business matrix, and win some fame and awards. And I think Effies is all about that. Effectiveness is very important.
Yes.
The learning I take away is do work that don't just trend, but actually move the consumers and move the business matrix. So really be intentional about it.
So you mentioned a couple of things there. I guess you mentioned that firstly the trifecta that the work must kind of meet, and you mentioned that the Effies doesn't just reward the fame aspect, it rewards this kind of trifecta. The brands that you work with at Mondelez are very much consumer brands. That I mentioned Chappies, that if I don't buy Chappies, I buy another brand of chewing gum, which I call Chappies. If it's at the right kind of price, I kind of buy it. And of course, brands with legacy, with heritage, as a brand develops that legacy and heritage, it becomes, call it, more expensive to buy at the sort of a shop or whatever the case is. How do you maintain that consumer love and affection over time for generations that didn't grow up on Chappies? Because while I say there was Chappies when I grew up, there were also very few brands that I could buy at that price point. But today, you go into a sweet shop and there are many. So much so that you can't call it by name anymore. How do you build that future, that sort of, future focus with consumers?
Well, that's a great question. I think that's, if you ask me really, that's the job of marketeers and agency partners, right?
Yeah.
Not just sell the product, but how do we create meaningful consumer connections?
Yeah.
How do you create rituals in the lives of the consumers where the product fits in, but authentically and effortlessly?
Yeah.
Right? So for example, in some of the categories that we operate in Mondelez, bubblegum and Chappies, for example. Chappies is almost the equivalent of bubblegum. When they go to the hawker, they ask for a Chappies, and it's almost like the Xerox of bubblegum. If they get some other bubblegum, it's because that's so iconic.
Yes.
It stands for the category. The same, by the way, is true for Cadbury also.
Yes.
They sometimes, and not just here, but in India, Malaysia, they sometimes go to the shop, ask for a Cadbury, get another chocolate, and Cadbury's is equal to chocolate.
Yes.
So coming back to the question, I think it's about creating meaningful connections with the consumers.
Yes.
And having an authentic role of the brand, creating a ritual in the lives of the consumers without them almost knowing it in an authentic manner.
Authenticity, I think, becomes a really big one, especially, I mean, I mentioned we have just come out of sort of Heritage Day, Heritage Month, where there was huge competition for the consumer's eyeballs around this idea of heritage and brands really leaning into that. Just coming back a little bit to effectiveness, are there any trends that you spotted this year in effectiveness that are either on the rise, that are growing, or that are different from any other years that you've judged any other awards show?
So I think firstly, what I'd say is the quality of the work keeps going up.
Right.
I'm really impressed with the quality of the entries this year compared to last year. I was judging last year also. And I think there is an improvement in the quality in the way the cases are written.
Yes.
Which not just celebrates the work, but links it to actual business matrix, which is, I think, the really meat of Effies, which is how effective the work is. I think one thing that's stood out for me is it's more of a global trend, but also in South Africa. How do we communicate better value or drive a premium? Because everyone is taking pricing because of inflation, etc.
Yes.
But you are able to sell at a higher price because you you land better value, and you do
Yes.
that because you drive better consumer connections.
Yes.
So I saw a sort of a theme there. I think good companies are able to charge a premium almost without the consumers knowing so, because they saw value, they didn't
Yes.
see higher price.
Yes.
So I think landing better value in times of inflation was a theme I saw
Right.
across a few categories and case studies.
It's interesting that you mention lending value, because the industry, and by the industry I mean advertising and marketing, have been under fire for short-termism, for this thing that you're talking about of, because the consumer is stretched, we are mostly about brand and price and special and whatever the case is. Because you have a sort of a global view of the space, how do you balance this short term, the consumers faced with difficulty and inflation and low income, with the brand building that ensures that Cadbury and Chappies and all these other brands are still relevant in 50 years or 100 years?
So firstly, I think if you ask me what's the core work of a marketing person, it's to manage the balance between the short term and the long term.
Yeah.
The role of marketing is to create long-term equity for the brand, while other functions in the organization probably take care of the short term, especially sales.
Yeah.
But how do you do it with the balance is really the the interesting and the the important sort of conundrum.
Yes.
So for example, a Cadbury Dairy Milk bar is less about selling the chocolate, but you sell generosity.
Yes.
And you drive Ubuntu during
Yes.
the festive season.
Yeah.
And when you do that, a consumer is ready to pay a little more than what he would or she would pay
Yeah.
for a beacon or someone else,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's a promise of the aspiration, the what's hopeful for tomorrow. It promises diversity and many other things. So I think at the same time, given the tough time we are going in, I think it's important to drive a balance and not go too far away, on that journey
Yes.
also.
Yes.
So the mix between, as I said, and the trifecta, you have to drive the business matrix, the consumer impact, and whatever comes in between. So the balance becomes really important.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you strike it though?
I think you need to think through. You have I'll give an example from Mondelez. We have 3-4 campaigns in the year. We define the role of the campaign very clearly. One brief can only do max two things. You shouldn't want one thing or one brief to land everything.
Right.
So the clearer you are on the brief, what you want the campaign to achieve, I think the more better work you deliver. To me, the simplicity is one of the other values a marketeer can drive.
Right.
Try and do less, you'll get more out of it.
You've mentioned that you've built consumer brands in Malaysia, in India, and now in South Africa. And these are markets that are in some ways very different from each other, in some ways quite similar. We were also talking about heritage. Now, given the difference in these markets, firstly, and this idea of heritage, how have you seen heritage find itself or express itself through brands across markets?
So firstly, as I said, the role of a marketeer is to, with the agency partners, of course, create meaningful connections in the
Right.
lives of the consumers. Every country or market has a unique cultural context.
Yeah.
And heritage plays a huge role. For example, it's Heritage Day in South Africa, it's Diwali in India,
Yes.
it's Chinese New Year or Merdeka in Malaysia. These are occasions very often, and I work for a company where snacking is the main portfolio, right?
Yeah.
You see the role of snacking sort of intertwines with the festive occasions and becomes one. So the more you can connect your brands to the lives of the consumers,
Right.
link it to the festivals, the cultural nuances of the country, you have a better chance of winning, right? For example, last year in South Africa,
Yeah.
we did this campaign for Heritage Day, where it was called Real Zwanzi Names, and we wanted consumers to make an effort
Yeah.
and try and pronounce the name of the people, their real names, which carry so much meaning.
Right.
And it was something we felt a brand like Cadbury, which stands for generosity,
Yes.
should sort of try and nudge the consumers to. And we got a phenomenal response. And in fact, the lead campaign was an ad where we actually showed how Mandela got his name, the Madiba's name, and how it was Nelson, but not originally so. And then
Yes.
we sort of celebrated the diversity of the country through this generosity campaign, which was ingrained in Ubuntu.
That's exciting, and I think it's exciting to see where marketing is going and how it's expressing itself. Arpan, we usually have a question where our guest passes the mic to our next guest, and one of our previous guests was Sydney Mbele, the Group Chief Marketing and Corporate Affairs Officer of ABSA Group. The question he left was, what's your take on what the next frontier of measurement is insofar as marketing is concerned?
It's an interesting question. I would say, in a world like it is today,
Yeah.
how you can not just follow culture, but how you can create culture and drive behavior change and make the consumers pause when everyone is busy.
Yeah.
That's the job of the marketeer of tomorrow.
Make the consumer pause when everyone is busy. That's an interesting and fascinating insight. Arpan, now it's your turn to pass the mic to our next guest. What's the one question that you'd like to ask our next guest about their approach to creativity, marketing, a creative approach, or even life for that matter?
What do you think marketing will be in 5 years' time, and how different would it be versus today?
Interesting. How different will marketing be in 5 years' time in comparison to today? Arpan, thank you so much for making
a
time
pleasure.
to talk to us.
Thank you
it
so
was an
much.
interesting and fascinating conversation for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.